Someone could say, I hate that. I don't like this. I don't want to do it. No problem. You do not have to do it. Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. A lot of us are drawn to doing something like this. Am I talking too fast? Maybe I'll slow down. I'm drawn to doing something like this because there's something about a challenge that engages us, right? There's something in us, I think, as human beings that desires to be challenged. And there's also something in us that knows that if I can engage with this challenge and I can enter into this challenge, I might be prepared for the next challenge. Not only that, but if I engage in this challenge, I might have something to offer that I wouldn't be able to offer if I didn't do this. There is a new thing. It's called St. Michael's Lent. It's actually quite old. It goes all the way back to St. Francis of Assisi. He would enter into this time period from August 15th all the way to September 29th, and he would enter into doing some spiritual disciplines as a way of growing his love for the Lord, as a way of growing himself in freedom, as a way of becoming the kind of person who has something to offer. Now, here's this interesting thing. Let's go back to this. Sometimes people hear Exodus 90, or now this newish one, St. Michael's Lent, and we can shrink back from it. We can think like, that's people being extreme. That's people being just, they're taking it way too far. I would have to pause on that and say, let's wait. Let's examine this for 1 second. Remember how Jesus says that he is meek and humble of heart. I'm sure you know that meekness is not the same thing as weakness. Although I think probably all of us at some point in our lives have thought that when Jesus says he's meek and humble of heart, we might have thought, well, shoot, that's not great, because we associate meekness with weakness. But meekness is not weakness. I've heard many people describe it like this, that to be meek is to have the power to dominate, but to use that power to serve. The meekness is to have the power to again, overwhelm others, but to use that power to discipline oneself, to control oneself, to basically use what you have inside of yourself and place it at the service of those people around you. There's no being more powerful than God himself, but he placed all that power at the service of others. The example that St. Francis of Assisi gave to this world, gave to the church, is remarkable. Why? Well, because he had something to offer. Think about this. Because he embraced the challenge, because he rose up to the challenge, because he recognized that, again, he might have just said, this is for me, my other friars, other Franciscans, you don't have to do this. Other Christians, other Catholics, you don't have to do this. But if you want to, you can. And so in doing that, engaging with the Lord and with other brothers in the process of this, something developed in Francis, right? Something developed in him so that he was more like Jesus. That he was meek like Jesus, that he had something to offer and he was able to put it at the service of the people around him. And so here, the St. Michael's Lent is an opportunity, again, starting August 15th, going until the Feast of the Archangel, St. Michael, Archangel Gabriel and Raphael on September 29th. And some of the disciplines are very, very similar, if not the same as the disciplines of Exodus 90. You're going to do some spiritual reading. You're going to interact with your brothers. You have some fraternity. You check in with your anchors every day to make sure that you're on track. One thing I think is fascinating is when it comes to both Exodus 90 and this St. Michael's Lent, there's a huge emphasis placed on sleep. I only underline this because there are people who, again, they come back to this place and they say, oh, it's too extreme, it's too hardcore. That's this kind of muscular Christianity. I'm like, yeah, but you realize that a big portion of living out Exodus 90 or living out St. Michael's Lent is letting yourself rest? That it's actually giving yourself a break and in finding the discipline that it takes to actually put your work down and go to sleep. I would thank the Lord if I could get 8 hours of sleep a night. That's the call for those embracing the St. Michael's Lent, is to get 8 hours of sleep a night. The last two things. I already said the one thing, I'm gonna say it again. First is this. This is just a devotion that exists. And if you don't wanna do it, there's nothing wrong with you. I just wanna let you know that, just so you know that. I think there's something really good about recognizing we live in a really big church, and a church that's very diverse, and a church that goes across the whole world. And there are some devotions that some people do and some devotions that no one does, or other people do, and you don't have to do all of them. And there's something really good about the fact that, okay, there's a bunch of guys who are going to do the St. Michael's Lent this August into September, and I'm not doing it, and that doesn't make you less of a Christian. That doesn't make you less of a Catholic. So just keep that in mind. I think sometimes there's weird comparison that can happen. Anyways, the second thing is this. The second thing is Someone could say, I've gotten emails. It's never like the person saying, the first person, my spouse is doing this, and so here's what they're doing. Usually it's, what if my spouse does this? And he says that he needs his 8 hours of sleep, and so he makes me put the kids to bed, or he has to sleep in because he's doing whatever. Exodus 90, or St. Michael's Lent, is never an excuse to be selfish. This is an exercise in freedom. It's an exercise in growing in love. It's an exercise in embracing a challenge in order to be able to serve the people around you more. To do Exodus 90, to do St. Michael's Lent, is never an excuse to be selfish. But at the same time, if I were to hear someone say, well, I would do this, but my family, I would do this, but my friends, I would do this, but the people around me, I would say, just like Exodus 90 and St. Michael's Lent are not an excuse to be selfish, don't use your family as an excuse to be lazy. I'm not saying those who don't do St. Michael's Lent are lazy. I'm just saying, if you recognize in your heart that there's something drawing you to any devotion whatsoever, it's going to require some kind of sacrifice. And that's okay. That's okay. Again, to those people who think like this is so extreme, I don't think that the disciplines of Exodus 90 or St. Michael's Lent are any more extreme than how the vast majority of humanity has lived to not surf the internet all day, to not play video games all night, to get out and walk, to pray, to rest, to nourish your mind, to have an opportunity to worship the Lord. Like those are just really human things. And why not mark off a span of days from August 15th to September 29th and say, during those days, I'm going to become even more human, become even more like Christ, become someone who can love even better. Anyways, that's what I think. And do it or don't do it. I think it's a cool invitation, though. If you're going to do it, drop a little comment in there. If you're not going to do it, you don't have to worry about it. Just say you're praying for the people who are. That's the thing, is we live in a big church. And the people who are going through this thing August 15th to September 29th, if we're not going to be part of them, let's just pray for them. I think that's a good idea. So in the chat, let me know. Are you going to be doing St. Michael's Lent? In the chat, if you're not going to do it, are you going to be praying for people doing St. Michael's Lent? Because that's the reality. Big church, big family. Sometimes we do stuff, sometimes we don't. It's all good. For all of us here at Ascension Presents, my name's Father Mike. God bless. Whew.